Hundreds of people were working at a Hyundai plant in southeast Georgia when ICE agents showed up and arrested them.
Okay, so picture this. It's early morning in Georgia, nothing wild, just another workday. Then out of nowhere, federal agents from one of Hyundai's shiny new mega sites. By the time the dust settles, almost 500 people are in custody. Yeah, 500. And this wasn't some random sting, this was planned. But here's the part no one's talking about. This raid might have just cracked open one of the darkest level scandals hiding in plain sight. So, how did a car company, the one making those sleek EV ads, end up in the middle of the biggest raid in years? Here's what actually went down. On September 4th, ICE and Homeland security agents rolled up on Hyundai's mega site in Lalabelle, Georgia. This wasn't just a couple of officers either. This was a full-scale sweep. Tents, buses, processing lines. It looked less like a factory and more like a checkpoint. By the end of the day, around 475 workers were detained. That's not just a big number. It's the biggest single site where HSI has pulled off in years. Imagine that. Almost 500 people yanked out of one work site in a single morning. And here's the twist. Reports say a lot of these workers were in local hires. Some were actually South Korean nationals, as an American plane building an American factory.
The US Immigration and Customs Enforcement conducted a raid at the construction site of our company's battery plant in the state of Georgia, during which many of our nationals were detained.
Worried about guns.
So immediately, this went from a simple illegal paperwork story to something way more global, way more complicated. Now, Hyundai is saying, hey, don't look at us. Those people weren't our employees, they were contractors. Classic big company move, but federal agents aren't buying the clean hands routine just yet. No criminal charges announced, but the investigation still wide open. And the thing is, this raid didn't come out of nowhere. There were warning signs, weird hiring chains, red flags that everyone seemed to ignore until now. Here's the thing, raids like this don't just pop out of thin air. ICE doesn't wake up one morning and say, let's go grab 500 people in a car plane. Nah, they'd been watching this place, and there were red flags everywhere, from sketching hiring chains to workers whispering about long shifts. It was only a matter of time before somebody pulled the thread. See, the sire wasn't just Hyundai, it was Hyundai plus contractors plus subcontractors plus subcontractors. It's like one of those Russian nesting dolls. You open one, there's another one inside. So, who actually hired these workers? That's where things get murky. The company at the top can always shrug and say, oh, they weren't our employees, but somebody signed those contracts. Somebody looked the other way. And here's a little deja vu moment.
Automaker Hyundai is investigating child labor violation in its US supply chain. It's a first of its kind incident.
Hyundai's US operation have been caught in labor scandals before. Like just last year, there were lawsuits about child labor in the Alabama supply chain. Kids as young as 12 working the shifts at parts suppliers. That made national headlines. So when you hear about hundreds of undocumented or foreign workers at a brand new Georgia plant, it kind of feels like history repeating itself.
I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE.
So investigators were already circling. Workers had been filing complaints. Journalists have been sniffing around. And meanwhile, Hyundai pushing forward with this billion-dollar EV dream project, trying to impress Washington and Wall Street. But behind the glossy commercials, the cracks were already showing. And that's the problem with this mega project. The bigger the dream, the easier it is to hide the nightmares inside it. Which brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, the corporate web. If Hyundai wasn't directly hiring these workers, then who was? And once you see how deep the contractor maze goes, you'll start to wonder if that was the plan all along. Alright, let's pull the thread. Hyundai swear up and down that none of those detained workers were their direct employees, which sounds neat, right? But here's the catch, they didn't need to be. Big companies like this almost never hire everyone themselves. They farm it out. Contractor A hires contractor B, who hires contractor C. And suddenly, nobody knows who actually signing the paychecks. It's like corporate hot potato. And here's why that matters. If things go south, the big bank gets to say, hey, don't blame us. It was the subcontractors. Meanwhile, the subcontractors have the time. They're shell companies or small firms that can vanish overnight. So accountability, it just evaporates. And this isn't just theory. Hyundai supply chain has been messy before. Remember those Alabama labor cases about children? Yeah, same playbook. The kids weren't working in Hyundai's main plant. They were buried in the supply chain at subcontractors. So legally, Hyundai could shrug. Morally though, everyone knew what was going on. So when ICE came knocking in Georgia, Hyundai already had the baggage. This raid wasn't just about immigration law. It was about whether the contractor excuse will hold up again. And honestly, the feds don't spend months planning the biggest raid in years just to slap a subcontractor on the wrist. The question now isn't whether Hyundai knew, it's how much they wanted not to know. And that leads us straight into the bigger picture, why this raid even matters in the first place. Spoiler, it's not just about Hyundai. It's about America's whole EV rush and the hidden cost of building it fast. Because when Washington says, build it here, build it now, companies will do whatever it takes to make that deadline. And that's where corners start getting cut. Here's the thing nobody really wants to talk about. Ways like this don't just happen in vacuum. They're tied to politics, money, and timing. Right now, the US is in a full-on sprint to dominate the electric car game. Billions of dollars in tax breaks, massive plants breaking ground across the South, promises of good American jobs. Sounds like a dream, right? But if you look close, that dream has cracks. Because this shiny EV future, it takes workers, a lot of workers. And guess what? Most Americans aren't exactly lining up to work brutal shifts in hard factories for not so great pay. So companies, they look elsewhere. And that's where undocumented labor criticizes in. It's cheap, it's available, and let's be real, for corporations, it keeps the machines running. And that puts ICE in the spotlight. For the government, ways like Georgia are a way to say, look, we're cracking down, we're protecting American jobs. But here's the messy part. Those same politicians also need these factories pumping out cars fast to compete with China. So on one hand, they're waiting plans. On the other hand, they are pouring money into the same plans. It's like they're fighting themselves. And it's not just politics, it's people. The workers pulled out in calves. They're not masterminds of some scheme. They're mostly parents, neighbors, folks, and chasing paycheck. Some of them probably thought they were legit employees. Others knew the risk but felt they had no choice. Either way, they're caught in a system where everyone profits of their work. But when the heat comes, they're the ones paying the price. So yeah, on paper, this is about Hyundai plant in Georgia. But zoom out. It's about how America is trying to build the future fast. And who gets chewed up in the process? And the fallout from this raid? Oh, that's just getting started. Because when a raid this big hits a brand this huge, the shock waves don't stop at one factory. They spread. When the ICE vans pulled off that Georgia plant, the story was only just beginning. Within hours, headlines blew up. Biggest raid in years. Hyundai workers detained, immigration crackdown, social media lit up, some cheering, others furious, and Hyundai dead quiet, except for one carefully worded statement. We are cooperating, which in corporate speak means we are buying time. And now everyone's pointing fingers. The feds are pushing contractors under the bus. Contractors are pointed at subcontractors, and Hyundai, they're standing at the top of the pyramid, acting shocked. Classic blame shuffle. But the thing is, you can't just disappear 80 workers without leaving scars on your brand. Investors notice, regulators notice, customers notice. That shiny EV image starts to look a little grim. This probably won't be the last time, because as long as America's chasing speed and profit, there will always be someone cutting corners. The only question is, who's next? So next time you see an ad about clean cars and bright futures, maybe ask yourself, who's really paying the price to make it happen? If you like this, subscribe for more stories they don't want you to see.